We're just watching the Kamaru Usman-Colby Covington fight.
Oh! Sorry.
This is Johnny and Jose with Tiger Bomb MMA. And tonight we'll be going over UFC 273, Volkanovski versus Korean Zombie Chan Sung Jung, giving you our thoughts, predictions, possible parlays if we feel like it. It's kind of late, so we'll see what we do at the end. Yeah, well, let's just get started. This whole card has been kind of funky. Like, I know a lot of you guys have been doing a lot of tape watch, and the up and down roller coaster of this card is like diminishing my will to live. Fucking Duplessis was going to fight Anthony Hernandez. That gets flipped around. Imavov was going to fight Kelvin Gastelum. That gets flipped around. It was going to then be Gastelum versus Duplessis. And now, who the hell's Duplessis fighting? I don't even know. We'll get to that. But we'll start off with the first fight of the night taking place at bantamweight, 135 pounds. We've got Julio Arce versus Daniel Willy Cat Santos. Willy Catch is how they pronounce his name in Portuguese. But currently they have it in favor of Julio Arce at minus 195. Comeback on Santos is a plus 165. This one was interesting. I could not really get a whole ton of tape on Daniel Willy Catch because he fought. What organization did he fight in? He fought in Brave CF, and for whatever reason, I don't know if it's because I'm American, I can't really watch his tape from their website, but the guy's pretty solid. He's 10-1. He only lost once to, I'm assuming, a Russian at Murad Kalimov, so that's pretty damn Russian to me. And from what I saw, I think he's pretty damn well-rounded. He's training out of Diego Lima's Shooto Box, and then, of course, Julio Arce training out of Tiger Schulman. So it's going to be primarily a kickboxing affair. Between both of them, I think Willy Catch, he's probably the more, I don't want to say well-rounded, but more willing to mix it up a bit. Julio Arce at 135, I'm not a huge fan of. I know he just recently got knocked out by Song Yadong, and Song Yadong, as of late, he's on a knockout streak, and I was very surprised that he actually knocked out Julio Arce in their bout. I thought Arce was going to eventually outpoint him into a decision. Didn't work out. He got caught with that right hand. Santos, what I'll bring up, and I'll explain why I'm going to go with Santos on this one, mainly because he is an underdog, and I know he hasn't fought in about 2 years. So he was contracted to fight in the UFC a couple times, and whether it be pullout, withdrawal, or COVID, it's just kind of not been his way. So he's finally catching up and getting his UFC debut against Julio Arce, who's not an easy out. But the thing about Julio Arce is that I'm not a big fan of him at 135. I think his chin has been severely diminished, and I'm not certain if he's going to be the faster guy in this matchup. I think Willy Cat's going to be the much faster guy, despite him having a 2-year essentially layoff. I like what I see from Santos. I like that he can wrestle. He's got decent enough takedown defense. He is willing to spin. He's been 3 rounds before. He seems to have some pretty solid cardio as well. We'll see how that plays out because, again, he's been away for about 2 years. The things I don't like about Arce is that he can be a bit inactive, and that could put him in trouble. So the way I see this fight, one of 2 different ways. Julio Arce wants to erase his previous fight and then just look as best as he can against this up-and-coming newcomer in the 27-year-old Daniel Willy Catch Santos. And he starches Santos because of the inactivity. The way I see it, I mean, I've seen some tape on Santos in the past. He's gotten some solid knockouts. He's doing some pretty decent training out there with Diego Lima. Not that Diego Lima, different Diego Lima, Shooto Box Diego Lima. And based off of his Instagram, he looks pretty solid right now. He looks in shape. He looks like he's training his wrestling. I'm going to go with Willy Catch. I just get a feeling at plus 165, plus 170. Coming off of a loss against Song Yadong 4 months ago, there's a chance he can get cracked. I don't necessarily love him dropping to 135, although he is 1-1 in 135. We'll see what happens. I'll go with Daniel Santos to win by a decision. I think he's going to grapple with Julio Arce, and Arce is going to have much better defense. I think he is. I don't know. We'll see. Once you get knocked out like that, you're a little tentative, and I think Willy Cat's not going to have any of that hesitation. He's going to do whatever the hell he wants. So I picture him doing a lot of grappling, maybe edging out the rounds with a takedown at the end. So I'll go with Willy Cat by decision.
This, I think, is going to be one. This is going to go one of two ways. This is going to be either Willie Cat's going to be, come off super fresh after his 2-year, after being away from combat sports for 2 years, or he's going to come in and be rusty as hell. So just because these guys are training, doesn't always mean that they're going to, be either. I think it's 50-50. So can't really go with Willie Cat. I don't think he has enough experience to the point where I'm like, oh yeah, he's going to be fine. Not only that, but this is his UFC debut, and this is in where the hell was this? Jacksonville, Florida. So if that wasn't bad enough, they're fighting in Jacksonville, and they're probably going to have some Jacksonville Jaguars in the crowd, and they're going to pan to them because they have nobody else there. So, and I'm actually going with Arce, even though he did get knocked out 4 months ago. However, based on his record, his last 5 fights, he's actually due for a win. Since he lost last, so I think he's gonna. I think he's probably going to be set for a win. It's not going to be pretty because he did get knocked out, so he does have, the chance of getting head kicked or maybe elbowed on top of his head or something. However, he did knock out Andre Ewell about 7 months ago, so that's not really a bad proposition. All in all, actually, Julio Arce has faced better competition, win or lose. So I think he has that going for him as well. So I'm going to go with Arce to get a decision here because I think, just has more experience and he has more wins than Santos has fights. Doesn't mean a lot, but several of those, his wins and losses have been against better competition than Daniel Santos has showed thus far. Although Daniel Santos could be the next Paddy the Batty, he could, for all we know, he's going to grow his hair out and he's going to be the next. He's going to be a Brazilian Taquache or something.
I had a feeling you were going to bring that up during the recording, so I'm glad you did. Dude's been sending me what is Taquache videos of dudes with that haircut. Dude, like you got me up at like 3 a.m, deep diving into those videos, and it's just like the fuck was I doing at 3 a.m. watching these?
It's the new cultural phenomenon that I'm not obsessed with, it's just that it's very like, I guess now I know what, old folks in the 50s and 60s experience with like Elvis and the Beatles. They're like, these young whippersnappers. And then they're like, I don't understand what's going on. What's going on with their hair? Why are they singing like this? This isn't music,
Is it primarily like a Mexican thing or just like a Central American? It's like a mixture, right? Like it's like a.
I think it's a little of everybody, and then, this is like a youth sort of thing, because no one in their right mind, like in their 20s and 30s, I guess, or even older, would have that haircut on purpose. That's more of like, oh, I lost a bet, so I'm getting that haircut. The Edgar with the mullet. The mullet's bad enough, but having the Edgar on the front and mullet in the back, it's like, what the hell's going on? It's it's party in the back, and what the hell's going on in the front?
Let's move on from this fucking conversation.
Yeah. Anyway,
yeah, let's move on.
I'm still trying to understand it, but yeah, let's go ahead.
Yeah. Next fight taking place at what fucking weight class is it? Strawweight. We've got Kay Hansen versus Piera La Fiera Rodriguez. And if you saw me looking at my phone earlier, I wrote down some notes, and I'm like, I wonder if what I'm about to say is still true, because when I was doing tape watch on Kay Hansen and I went to an Instagram page, and the first thing that popped up was her first picture that pops up, like her most recent picture, was nothing but thottery, absolute thottery. And I look it up, and I don't know if this will translate, but it's she's training, but she's still pretty fucking thotty. And look at that. So I'm like, oh man, that's my biggest criticism about Kay Hansen. That, and of course, that she's not the brightest fighter. Like, she's what I write down here. She is a purple belt in BJJ, 10th Planet Jiu-Jitsu. Her hands are gotten better. She's got a pro boxing record. What was her record? She wasn't very good. 1-4. She's looking better. And, I can shit on her for that 1-4 record in boxing, but the fact is she has a 1-4 record in boxing, and I have a 0-0 record in boxing. So at least she's got the balls to go in there. I don't know, man. Like, the biggest threat that she has is her ground game, but even then, it doesn't even seem to be that big of a threat because a lot of the girls who she's fought were really able to nullify her. Primarily Corey McKenna, Jin Frey is her only win in the UFC, and even then, if she couldn't get it to the ground, she looked a bit outmatched. And recently, she got beat by Jasmine Jasdivisius by trying to take down the bigger, stronger girl, even though she was having success on the feet. As for Piera Rodriguez, the best quality I like about her is that she's a bad bitch, and that's the best compliment I can give her because she is that. She's 7-0. Did I give you the odds? They're dead even right now, -110, -110. But she's a bad bitch, man. She doesn't care. She's like a Diaz brother in a way, just with less penis. Trains out of a good gym. She trains out of Black House, and I think in this situation she might be very, very live to be Kay Hansen. Kay Hansen does have more experience, especially UFC experience, fought better competition. Her fight, Piera, that is in the Dana White Contender Series, did not sell me on her. I had to go back and rewatch some of her actual tape from, I think she was a former LFA champion. Yep, former strawweight LFA champ, where she beat Gotzik, and she actually looked very good there. She moved forward. She did not give a shit. She's very tough. For someone who is, I believe, a blue belt in jiu-jitsu, she is pretty decent off of, not necessarily off of her back, but not getting taken down. She's willing to get into the guard and beat you up. My only issues with her is that she keeps her hands down and she can be a bit stationary. So if Kay Hansen implements a very movement-heavy boxing approach, I think she can win it, especially mixing into takedowns. The thing about Kay Hansen that worries me about betting her, or even choosing her, is that she does make some boneheaded mistakes and she can lose fights by not clearly defining and stamping the rounds. Like, she had Corey McKenna, she had her back, and Corey was just hitting her from behind, and that lost her the round. And I think a girl like Rodriguez can definitely do that. I think between the two, I think Rodriguez is more wanting to win the fight opposed to not wanting to lose. I consider that to be more of a Kay Hansen trait, not wanting to lose a fight opposed to wanting to win it. And I think Rodriguez will bring it to Kay Hansen. If Rodriguez is losing any bit of the round or any bit of the fight, I think she's going to go out there and try to take it away from Kay Hansen. And that's why I want to bet Rodriguez. If she hits to be like a +100 dog or plus anything dog, I'm going to take her as an actual bet. But I'll go with Piera to win this one by decision, primarily because of that. I think she's going to go out there and try to win this fight, try to make sure she keeps her O. I like her spirit. Kay Hansen, again, she makes mistakes. I think Kay might be the better fighter, but I think Piera is the actual true fighter deep down. I think she's going to want it more, so I'll go with her to win by a decision.
Before I'm going to bring this up because I always do, but before you and everybody else thinks that this is a fight worth betting on, reminder, this is not only a women's MMA fight, this is a super low women's MMA fight. According to Tapology, La Fiera is number 2 in Latin America among women. I'm not sure how, if they're counting Brazil as well, because Cyborg's down there. I don't know how the hell these rankings work, but anyway, Kay Hansen's number 1 flyweight worldwide. So again, that's kind of confusing. It's like,
wait, what?
Is there no weight class in Latin America for women? What the hell? Yeah, if you look at the Tapology page for La Fiera, she's number 2 for women in Latin America. And I'm like, are there only 2 women in Latin America? Like, what the hell?
Apparently.
Yeah. Anyway, this is a super low level fight. I guess the UFC is, hoping maybe Kay Hansen wins because she's kind of cute. She's young. and maybe they're hoping she'll be what Paige Van Zandt could have been. You know, I'm hoping Kay Hansen's OnlyFans takes off after this as well.
That was a picture
you know,
that I saw. That was the exact picture. I was like, God damn it, Kay, what the fuck? Get the training.
Yeah, hopefully she funds her you know, her fight camps with this. I wish her the best, but yeah, this is not a fight you want to bet on, man, regardless of whatever the odds are.
Yes, it is. Bet on it. You know you want to. You know you want to. Second mortgage your house, baby.
I'd recommend just you know, setting up one of those wheels, putting a bunch of you know, crypto names on it, spinning it, and then just, you know, putting your $5, you know, the $5 that you'd have lost in the parlay, just put it into one of those cryptos that lands.
Dude, when you said wheel, for whatever reason, the first thing that popped in my head was a wheel that slaps you in the nuts anytime you think that you should bet on women's MMA. Like, for whatever reason, it just like, and it just slaps you in the dick. That would probably be the best method to keep me away from betting these fights, because I will forget. I'm like, oh, you know, it's a good idea if I add Kay Hansen to this parlay. Yeah, look at the odds. I'm like, yeah, here you go. And I'm like, oh shit, what did I do? That happens to me most of the time when I go into the casino. Like, I'm like, do. I'm like, I need to add one more person. Oh, I know, women's MMA.
Yeah, I think a better thing would be like a like two you know, two mechanical hands ready to flick each testicle individually every time you want to bet on women's MMA.
Oh no, dude! Like, classical conditioning would state that after a while you get used to it, and anytime you watch women's MMA, you know, get a urge to.
But then that would be, that would lead to the chain reaction of, you know, you feeling that pain in your stomach as well. You know what I mean? And then every time you have a stomach ache, you're like, I better go bet on women's MMA.
Oh God, no!
Right? It would be an adverse reaction.
It would.
Yeah, I can't really. This is a coin flip fight to me. This is you're gonna lose no matter who wins, and you know, you're gonna be even big loser if you actually watch this fight, or if you take time out of your day to watch it. I don't know, man. I can't decide who's worse. I mean, yes, Kay Hansen's cuter and she's younger, so she still has a few years ahead of her. But Piera Rodriguez looks like she'll, you know, like reach for like one of her breasts during the fight and like bite it like Mike Tyson. That'll be like the first women's, you know, equivalent of Mike Tyson, something or other.
Well, what's funny that La Fiera translates into what? Iron? Like Iron Mike?
No, it's
the steel, La Fiera.
No, La Fiera means the fair.
Really?
What the hell? I guess so. No. Oh no, wait, that's Italian. That's Italian to what is this? Shit, Spanish. The beast. There we go.
Really? Yeah. I thought it was metal or some shit. My cousin would say it all the time, and I'm like, what the fuck are you saying?
No,
like fierro?
No, that's plancha. Oh no, wait. I just put in the translation for iron, planchar. That's to iron.
Yes.
Anyway, yeah, no. So it means the beast. So apparently she's a beast. She looks a little dark, but I'm not sure she's black enough to name her the female Black Beast. Yet to see that. Well, who knows? She might be, you know, tougher than her picture indicates. And well, I mean, Kay Hansen's been fairly active the last year, I would say. She has fought. Saying it with women's MMA, it's really hard to keep a straight face when you say, yeah, she's faced UFC level competition. Jinh Frey, Corey McKenna, and Jasmine. Fry my brain trying to pronounce that last name. Aren't exactly top of the heap. Yeah, I don't know, man. I'll say for sure this is going to go to decision, and if it does go to decision, flip a coin. I'd say stay away from it. But if I have to make a pick, I'll go with Kay Hansen just because she's had more fights in the UFC, and Lafayette has to prove herself. She can't just come in and be a disappointment like what's that tall girl who got manhandled? She was like a minus 900 favorite.
Oh, Agapova.
Agapova, yes. She can't be a Venezuelan Agapova, where she's like a killer coming into the UFC and then she's just a thought in Miami or something at the end of the day. So I'll go with Hansen. Otherwise, I'm just going to keep, talking nonsense because there's really not much to talk about here anyway.
Next bout, short notice fight between Anthony Hernandez and Josh Fremd, taking place at middleweight. So this one, I don't really have much to say on it. Josh Fremd, I know of the guy. I've done some tape watch on the guy. I don't know too much about the guy. As you can see based on the picture, that's our good friend RoboCop Gregory Rodriguez knocking him the fuck out. And currently the odds have it actually in favor, surprisingly, Anthony Hernandez at a minus 160 comeback on Fremd. He's a plus 135. Fremd got his UFC contract by fighting in FNC or something like that. The Nelk boys, they were looking for a fighter or whatever. He got the contract. And dude, even in that fight, going back to rewatch it, I saw it live and I'm like, oh, he got the finish. He got a rear naked choke. I think he had no hooks in on the rear naked choke. He eventually spins him over, gets the hooks in, and immediately taps. Joel Bauman is the one who he beat. And dude's a tall guy. So I'll give you the attributes of this dude. He's 28 years old, 6'4", 76.5-inch reach. He is a wrestle boxer, decent enough on the feet, not great because obviously Rodriguez knocked him the fuck out. I mean, knocked him out really bad, and he couldn't get anything going. He's kind of slow for middleweight, and he doesn't move his head. He's very stationary. I'm saying this like it's all bad stuff, but he's still very young. He's only had total of 11 fights in his entire career, making his UFC debut against Anthony Hernandez, a guy who himself, he's 8-2. Not all that great personally. I don't think he's all that great yet. He's improving definitely. He is, as I consider him now, the greatest jiu-jitsu player of all time for subbing Rodolfo Vieira. And I joke around a lot about Anthony Hernandez because, he's quit. He quit against Kevin Holland. He calls out Kevin Holland, says his boxing isn't good. Kevin Holland puts an ass whooping on him and beats him in the first round immediately. Knee to the body, takes him out. I think I've always had this suspicion that Anthony's got a weakness to the body. Maybe that's a known thing. I don't know. If Josh Fremd wants to win this fight, it's going to stay on the feet, and he's going to have to attack the body, use his length. I don't think he's going to have the grappling advantage against Anthony Hernandez. I mean, say what you want about Anthony. What is he? He's a brown belt in jiu-jitsu. He submitted Rodolfo Vieira as a purple belt. And the way he composed himself during that onslaught of muscle mass and strangleability from Vieira was pretty impressive, I will say. I don't think Anthony Hernandez is a top level guy. This one should be really close, but I will give it to Anthony Hernandez. I'll say he actually TKOs Josh Fremd in the second round, mainly because he's going to use his boxing skills. He's going to mix it up better than Josh Fremd. Fremd might have I suspect he's going to have UFC jitters. I really do, especially with a live crowd. I don't know, man. I've not been a big, I was going to say a big friend of Fremd. I've not been a fan of his just because I still need to see him develop a bit more before I can say this guy's going to be a big guy. I still don't think he's UFC ready. At least Anthony Hernandez, I think he is now UFC ready. Obviously, he's got a few wins in the UFC. He's 2-2. I'll go with Hernandez by a second round TKO, mainly because his footwork is going to be better. I think he's going to be the faster guy. And Fremd kind of plots around a little bit too damn much. So if he comes in here with a different game plan, he might be live, but I'll go with Hernandez to win by a second round TKO. I think he catches him, I would say, late round number 2.
I'm actually going with Fluffy as well, but I'm actually going with a second round submission. I think he's going to get him in a rear naked choke because Fremd is pretty tall. He's 6'4". I think Hernandez is going to be able to take him down, maybe get him against the cage, take him down somehow, and then work him until he gets his back and gets that rear naked choke. While he hasn't had the best wins, I'd say his wins are okay, but his losses, had those been wins, I think he would have been he would have been just higher. Obviously he would have been higher ranked, but he wouldn't have. He wouldn't be in the position, I think, where he still has to prove himself. Because this is the way I'm seeing it. Is this is still you have to prove yourself fight. You haven't earned. Yeah, he beat Rodolfo Vieira, but he's still not. He's still not going to fight a top 10 guy. He's not even close to that yet. But I think he's getting there. And the other thing I was actually noticing is that Josh Fremd, in the last year and a half or so, he's been a lot more active. Yes, he did get knocked out by RoboCop about 10 months ago.
That was a really nasty knockout too.
However, he did fight twice since then. He got one decision and one submission. So he's not, he hasn't been inactive. So there's that. But I think Anthony, if it goes to the ground, I think Anthony Hernandez is going to be he's going to have the advantage there. So I'm going to go with him to get the second round rear naked choke. He's going to, they're going to call him whatever they used to call Rodolfo Vieira after this.
The black belt hunter.
Even though Josh Fremd probably is, what is he?
He's not I have no idea. It was too short notice for me to do like a deep dive on him, which is why I feel like a little, kind of like a little bitch. But
yeah,
I don't have that confidence in Josh Fremd. I don't have confidence in either guy, but at least Hernandez actually moves his head a little bit. I mean, even he doesn't move his head all that much, I should say. Like if it stays standing and if Fremd hits Hernandez to the body just right, I think Hernandez will crumble. I don't want to call him a quitter because his last fight, he kind of erased a bunch of that because he didn't quit. He didn't let Rodolfo Vieira just finish him like we expected him to. He put it on his ass. In the second round, he subbed him. But it's like, damn, like I get this inkling that he will crumble if you hit him just right to the liver. And Josh is pretty damn tall. He's got some decent hands. It's just, dude, move your fucking head and move your fucking feet. I don't know, whatever. Don't bet this fight. I don't trust it.
This is another, I think this is another somewhat coin flip fight. But yeah, this is just like the last fight, and you should stay away from it. It's almost women's MMA.
It should be lined. I really thought it was going to be like -110 pick 'em because I mean shit, maybe Fremd is a decent dog. Like I don't know too much about him to be confident in him. I only saw the negative things about him, and I see a clear path to victory for Anthony Hernandez. So that's why I'm going with him.
Fremd has to prove himself.
Yeah, it's really tough, man. Like he has not beaten all that great competition, and when he fought, obviously a UFC caliber guy and Gregory Rodriguez, he got folded really bad. It was really bad. Like Jesus, that you see his chin escaping his fucking face in that picture. It was a clean right hand. But let's just move on. We've talked too much about this one.
Yeah, the point is stay away from this one.
Yes. Next bout, stay away from this one as well. Alexei Oleinik versus Jared Vanderaa at heavyweight. Very short notice. Latifi got something, I don't know, stomach issues still. And now Jared Vanderaa is coming in. I'm surprised Vanderaa still with the UFC. He only has one win, surprisingly, over Justin Tafa, which I took as a like +2 or +1 something dog, which thank God. Surprisingly, Jared Vanderaa is the favorite here, -125 over the boa constrictor, who is a +105. I'll be very blunt and quick with this one. Alexei, obviously, he's 40, almost 45 years old. Vanderaa is a big, tall dude, 29 years old. He's a heavy guy. do we really expect Alexei Oleinik to get it to the ground and submit Jared Vanderaa? It's possible. You expect that? I don't expect that. I would want that. Vandeera's a wrestler. He sucks at wrestling, right? I don't think he's the greatest wrestler. He is a decent enough wrestler. He got tossed around like a bitch against Romanov, and he got TKO'd. Now, damn, Vanderaa, he fancies himself a striker. He kept it on the feet with Andrei Arlovski. Somehow it says he won by a split decision. I don't remember it that way. Or not that he won, but he lost by split decision. I thought he won. He lost by unanimous decision. I'm going with Vanderaa. I'm sorry. I'm going with Vanderaa. I think he's big enough and fat enough to be able to stuff the takedowns of Oleinik. Oleinik's kind of been a little willing to turn around a little bit. He gave a very spunky performance against Spivak. Spivak was just too big. I think Vanderaa is going to be much bigger than him. He's way heavier. I'm rooting for Oleinik, but I think Vanderaa pulls it out. I think he will literally edge it out by the skin of his teeth. He's going to eventually TKO Oleinik in the second round. So that's all I got. It's really tough to go with Oleinik personally because I don't think he has it anymore. I think he can pull it out. I think he still has the strength, but he's going up against a really big 6'4" behemoth of a man in Jared Vanderaa, who is not himself very good. Obviously, Oleinik is a much better fighter skill-wise. He can get a sub from anywhere. It's just that I don't think he has. I don't know. He doesn't have the spirit anymore, I don't think. And I think Vanderaa is just going to have enough muscle to withstand any of the onslaught that Oleinik provides on the feet. Oleinik, I don't think even has a chance there. He does wing his punches and he does kind of overextend a lot. And Jared Vanderaa, he's got a very blocky head. He can take a punch. He's been TKO'd in the past, but that's more so because of like continuous ground and pound. He's never actually been knocked out. And I don't think Oleinik's going to do that. I see a chance that Vanderaa catches him being the taller guy by 2 inches. So I'll go with Vanderaa, second round TKO.
No, I think Oleinik's going to get a first round. What is that thing called?
Ezekiel.
No, not an Ezekiel. It's like I think Vanderaa is going to get. Vanderaa going to be the one that gets the takedown. Excuse me. Sorry about that.
Mm-hmm.
I think Vanderaa is going to be the one to get the takedown, and then he's going to be. Damn, what the hell is that submission called? You know when the guy on top.
Mm-hmm.
Is it a reverse triangle? No, it's a triangle, but from the guy on the bottom.
That is a triangle.
Yeah, it's I don't know. I thought it had a different name.
With the legs or the arm?
No, with the arms. You know, he's like in a hugging.
It's technically an arm triangle from the bottom.
Okay. Yeah, that's what he's going to get in the first round. Because I think Vanderaa is going to be a little bit too eager. Because he's, in his last 5 fights, he's 2-3. As is Oleinik. But I guess Oleinik is, he knows he's on his way out, so he has nothing to lose. Versus he's 45, he's toward the tail end of his career. Versus Vanderaa, he's going to be desperate to stay in the UFC, so he's going to want to. And just to know how desperate he is, he actually trains over at Dan Henderson's Athletic Fitness Center in Temecula. That's how desperate he is. He thinks he's going to somehow, so far Dan Henderson has been a letdown for this guy. He hasn't gotten in shape. He hasn't made him a better wrestler. He hasn't made him a better striker. So sucks for that guy. He better find a better MMA academy, school, whatever. Because he's only 29, but man, he fights like if he's 39. So he's
that's true.
Yeah, not good for him. So if anything, I'd say take out a second mortgage, put it all on Oleinik because it's plus money right now. You'll pay it back, and maybe pay back early your first mortgage. Have some left over for an electric car or something. So Oleinik's my pick here. Round 1, triangle, arm triangle from the bottom.
Next bout at lightweight, we've got Vink Pichel from Hell Pichel versus Mark the Olympian Madsen. Currently, the odds have it in favor of Pichel, wow, minus 150 comeback on Marco Madsen is a plus 130. It is the battle of the old guys. 39 years old for Pichel. Marco Madsen's 37. So when I first heard of this fight, I'm like, oh shit, I think I've got Pichel to win this fight. He's a mean dog, dude. He's just kind of an older guy. That mustache is pretty badass. He is beating younger dudes. He beat some old dudes as well, but he beat Austin Hubbard, and he looked pretty good against Austin Hubbard. I always been saying that Vink Pichel is like the final form of Cub Swanson. Like if he's evolved, you.
So he's the Raichu, you mean?
I was gonna say, you know how you evolve Pokemon. If you give Cub Swanson enough heroin, he becomes Vink Pichel. He evolves. Oh Jesus Christ! But it's basically Factory X versus, oh my God, Fight Ready. Marco Madsen. I completely forgot that he was training at a Fight Ready, and definitely you saw his improved cardio against Clay Guida. Very inactive though. He gave me a scare. So funny story about this dude, Marco Madsen. So when he fought Austin Hubbard, I max bet him immediately at some pretty good odds. I put as much money as I've ever put on a fighter straight before ever. And I was fairly confident in him. And I'm like, yeah, he's going to win at least a decision, 29-28 at the very minimum. 30-27 is what I'm expecting. And, you know, as time passed on, I was listening to other like YouTubers and different cappers, and most people were saying, yeah, Marco Madsen's going to win, but maybe stay away from it. He might this or that. Austin Hubbard might come back in the third round. He's got good cardio. And then I was kind of getting nervous. And because I'd put so much money on Marco Madsen, that's when I discovered something about myself, that I grind my teeth at night. I cracked one of my fucking teeth because I was so stressed out about losing my bet that I put on Marco Madsen. So when he fought Austin Hubbard, I had a really fucked up tooth. So that happens. And then, you know, he cashes out fine and dandy. Everything was fine. But yeah, most of my winnings have to go to pay for my tooth. So that's happening. So I'm doing tape watch on him again. And I'm watching Marco Madsen versus Clay Guida versus Austin Hubbard versus, you know, all of his fucking tape just to get a better idea on who's going to win this fight. That same exact tooth, I had a crown put in that same day. It fucking splits in half. So once again, the curse of Marco Madsen, I break a fucking tooth eating a fucking bagel. Luckily, I guess I had insurance or whatever. He got taken care of. No out of money, no pocket money. God damn it. No money out of pocket for me to cover it. But it's just like, what the fuck? Anytime I watch Marco Madsen fight or anytime he's about to fight, there's something wrong with my teeth. But son of a bitch, man. He owes me some fucking money. The dude's pretty good. It's just that he's fucking old and he is very inactive. We don't know how he's going to look in this fight. Every time we see Marco Madsen in the cage, he's a different fighter. When he first came into the UFC, he got a knockout against, what was his fucking name? Danilo Belluardo. He knocks him out immediately. Next fight against Austin Hubbard, he's flipping him upside down, dropping him on his head. And then he breaks his jaw in the second round, edges out the decision, thank God. And then against Clay Guida, I am ashamed to say I max bet him one more time. And I was sweating bullets because his cardio looked better, his jab looked better. He did not look great, though. He looked very inactive. He did not implement his wrestling because maybe he couldn't or maybe he didn't want to. He was the stronger guy, but you saw some holes in there. Even though he looked better, you still saw like, damn, this guy isn't the dominant force like you thought he was going to be in the UFC. It's like Greco-Roman wrestling isn't the best form of wrestling currently, especially at that weight class. I don't know, man. Vink Pichel, dude's very tough, very much a dog. He's only lost to wrestlers in the UFC. Hustam Khabilov dropped him on his head. So there's like automatically, well, maybe, you know, Vink Pichel, who's very good at doing that, is going to do the same thing. And Gregor Gillespie is TKO'd him, just being the way better wrestler. I think Pichel has learned his lessons from the past. I don't think he's going to be easily taken down any longer. He actually both men called out Gregor Gillespie. They fought on the same card and they both called out Gregor Gillespie. Gregor obviously didn't want to fight him, so now they paired him up together. This one, to me, I think it's Marco Madsen's fight to lose. Vink Pichel, as I mentioned, he's very tough, but watching his fight with Austin Hubbard, I was not as impressed as I was initially when I saw the fight. Like he's very good at giving a grueling fight, which makes me think he could definitely put a pace on Marco Madsen. But I think Marco Madsen is just the better athlete. I don't want to say fighter because I think Pichel is more of a natural fighter. This one, it's still tough for me. I'm leaning Marco Madsen because of that fight ready training camp. I think if he controls his pace and he does wrestle, I think he's going to easily out wrestle Big Pichel. But to an extent, I'm worried that say come round number 2 near the end, or definitely round number 3, Pichel training at a Factory X, we know his cardio is going to be good up in the mountains of Colorado. He's a clever vet, and I think he can edge it out. This is another fight you probably shouldn't touch. I think I'm going to go with Marco Madsen to edge out a very, very, very close decision. I think he has a tendency of really getting the judges on his side. Pichel, he's a tough dude. I do expect this one to go over 2.5 rounds, but it's a tough one. I'd probably stay away from this one completely, but I'll go with Marco Madsen by decision. We'll see, though. I'm hoping Mark looks better than his last fight. He continuously looks different each and every time he steps into the octagon, so we'll see. I know his cardio has gotten better. He is doing the Neuroforce 1, so I know his cardio is improving vastly because it failed him against Austin Hubbard. Maybe it's just that his jaw was broken, but I'll go with Marco Madsen on this one, but I would definitely stay away from it. Knowing my history with Marco Madsen, don't crack your teeth stressing out about placing money on this dude, so stay away.
I disagree. I think the money that you win from Alexei, you should max bet Vince Pichel.
Damn.
Is it Vink? I thought it was Vince.
It is. I think it is Vince, but he goes by Vink because he wants to be cool.
That's weird.
Or maybe he
maybe that's the cocaine talking, man.
I was gonna say it was Vince, but he sold the E to get more heroin money.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
So that, you know what? Now that you mention it, I've never seen Cub Swanson and Vink Pichel in the same place.
That's true. What is his name?
Like,
Vincent Allen Pichel. That sounds like a painter's name.
It's like it's like Clark Kent and Superman. Maybe he's just wanting to earn 2 paychecks, and then he's like, "All right, it's time to take some, cocaine." And then,
dude, I don't know if Pichel was a drug addict at one point. I'm just saying that because I'm trying to be funny. But if he was, I'm gonna feel real bad. Nope,
yeah.
Nothing on his Wikipedia says he was a heroin guy.
Yeah, no, I think he's gonna take this one. I mean, Madsen, he's gonna try to dry hump him for 3 rounds. But I think Vince, he's the better fighter. Madsen may be the Olympian and he may be the better wrestler, but Vince is the better fighter by far. He's gonna. This is. I look at this as like, going back to Damian Maya and what's that curly guy's name? Looks like.
Yes. Well, I do not want to compare Marco Madsen to Ben Askren.
Ben Shapiro. Okay. Yeah. So I take it back. I take it back to that to a certain extent, just because just to make the comparison. But I think Vink. Keep calling him Vince.
It's Vince. It's fine.
Yeah, he's earned the Vink after all that cocaine he's done. I think he's better overall better, the better fighter, and I think he's gonna show that. And even though they're gonna score a lot for maybe Madsen's gonna take him down for sure, but I don't think he's gonna be able to
hold him down.
Yeah, and then when they're on their feet, Vink the advantage for sure. I think he's gonna have better striking, and then for sure Vink is gonna go for some submissions, whether he's on the bottom or if he manages to get Madsen, on top of Madsen, which I think he might as well. Maybe toward the third round. I think Madsen's cardio is going to go hard for maybe the first round and a half, and then he's going to start to slow down for sure. So I'm going to go with Vink here. I would say by decision. I don't know if he'll be able to knock him out or submit him, but I think he'll be just a more aggressive fighter for sure, with more strikes, more submission attempts, yeah. I mean, his biggest thing is going to be trying to block those takedowns in the first round and a half, I would say. I think that's as much juice as Madsen has.
I was going to say, how insane would it be if Mark actually suplexes Vink Pichel, knocks him out just like Khabilov did? I'd be like, holy shit.
That would be insane.
Yeah. I don't think that'll happen. I know I picked Pichel, but my initial reaction was, or not Pichel, I picked Marco Madsen, but my initial reaction was Pichel was going to just walk down Marco Madsen, stuff any takedowns, and just let it rip. Which, after watching tape, I was like, I don't know, man. Marco Madsen, something about him, I guess. Could it just be that I fear picking against him? I'm going to lose more teeth, perhaps, but it is what it is. I think he has something special to him. I cannot put my finger on it. That it's the combination of him with Triple C coming up with game plans, Eric Albar, whatever. They should be able to find a remedy for Vink Pichel, because as much as I respect Vink, he's not anything too special other than just being a tough dog. He likes to make fights very grimy, and I don't think Mark likes that, which could easily lead him to this victory, but I think they can figure out a game plan for Vink Pichel. So I'm going to take a risk on Marco Madsen.
Well, I'll say this. If Marco Madsen wins, you better call out Kurt Angle, for a wrestling match at WrestleMania or something.
Let's move on to the next fight. What is this? Welterweight. We've got Mickey Gall versus Mike Malott. Proper Mike Malott. Interesting little bout between a jiu-jitsu specialist becoming a striker and a striker becoming a jiu-jitsu specialist. Currently, the odds have it in favor of Malott, who is a minus 180. Comeback on Mickey Gall is a plus 150. To keep it very simple, as I said to someone, I think on Twitter, I'm not going to put my stock on a guy who lost to another guy who had a teenager in his corner, and I am referring to Mike Perry, who had his teenage girlfriend wife cornering him. Mickey Gall, shit on him all you want. I think the guy's pretty solid. We know how nasty his BJJ is, his offensive BJJ. Thing about his defensive BJJ, I'm not too sold on it. Improved striking, training with Joe Schilling previously. Is he training at Sanford? I think he's training at Sanford MMA now. Let me read my notes. I think he is. Yep. I'm expecting improvements. That's what I wrote down. I am expecting improvements from Mickey Gall now that he's training at Sanford. And I do see those improvements from fight to fight. Obviously, he came into the UFC too damn early, beating who and that other guy. And the thing about him is that I think he's very hittable. He's been hit a lot. His last few fights, you can kind of see that. His fight with Alex Morono, he got dropped by a jab. He's having one of these win-loss records, so currently he should be aligned with the stars to get a win. The thing about Mike Malott, on the other hand, he is the striking coach for Team Alpha Male, and you think about his BJJ, you hear about it. We saw him get a very nasty no-arm guillotine against Shimon Simonstri in the Contender Series, just straight up snatched the neck and strangled him. This dude is jiu-jitsu. After watching his actual grappling matches and tape, he's pretty fucking good. It's whatever clicked with him with grappling, it just really... It just worked out. He really seems to understand and be a natural when it comes to the BJJ. He's also a black belt. Both of these guys are black belts. I think that Mike Malott's striking is, I don't want to say better. I joke around with people saying that he got knocked out at featherweight. He was trying to be a weight bully. How many years ago was that? 6 years ago? when he fought Hakeem Dawodu at featherweight. Yeah, that was 7 years ago where he fought Hakeem Dawodu at featherweight. His striking didn't look all that great back then, but he got TKO'd, knocked out, and now he's at 170. The guy's a big fucking dude. I like Mike. I like Mike Malott. But the guy's got solid everything. I think his takedown defense is a bit questionable, mainly because when he got taken down in his last fight in the Contender Series, he kind of allowed himself to get taken down to get the choke. My biggest concern is that if he can't get up from bottom, he's going to play the BJJ game too damn much, trying to go for submissions. We'll see. He is making his debut, but I think he's a very intelligent guy. I think he understands the game of grappling. He's definitely the striker here between both of them. I think he's just the overall better fighter. My only concern betting him is the odds at a minus 180 on a debutante against Mickey Gall guy, despite the fact being kind of a haha joke. I don't want to really label him that way. I do respect Mickey Gall to an extent. He is definitely improving, and I don't want to disrespect Mickey Gall by, going all out with Mike Malott. I might actually put him in a couple parlays, Mike, that is, but I wouldn't go big on Mike, just again because he is making his debut. But everything that I've really done my research on him, he's pretty solid. Yeah, we'll see how this goes for Mike, but I'll go with Mike Malott to actually win this bout. I really want to say he's going to win this one by a submission, but I think it's going to be too difficult to submit Mickey Gall. I think he's going to win this one by a decision. He's going to implement his striking, maybe even go for his own takedowns, control Mickey Gall on the bottom, try to pass guard, try to knock out Mickey. Mickey's pretty damn tough for whatever it is. He did get TKO'd by Diego Sanchez, but Diego Sanchez has some weird mystical powers, so I'll go with Mike Malott by a decision. My concern is, though, I don't know how good Mike Malott's chin really is. And Mickey, say what you want, his striking has improved, and I do fear that Mickey's just going to land that one punch and maybe even knock out Mike Malott, because I think he's the better striker, but I think he might have a bit of overrated striking. I think it's solid, but I think it might be a bit overrated. That good old-fashioned boxing clips him in the mouth, knocks him out. But I'll go with Mike Malott by decision.
I don't have much to say here. I think this is a coin flip fight. And the one thing to take note of is Mickey Gall's been in the UFC since 2016. He had 3 straight wins, his first 3 wins. Then he lost to Randy Brown. He's lost to Diego Sanchez, Mike Perry, Alex Morono. All guys that he should have beat, I think. I think he should be at least like 8-2 or 9-1 or something. Did not expect him to lose to Diego. I expected him to lose to Mike Perry. I knew he was. So, as you mentioned, Mike Malott's coming into the UFC. He's a debutant. He's got to prove himself. And even so, I'm still actually going with. Wait, what was I saying? Mickey Gall. Yes. So I'm going with Mickey Gall. Mickey? I think he'll get the decision. I think he's good enough to fight off jiu-jitsu. I don't know how good to be honest, I've never been high on him. I'm only going with him just because I have to pick somebody. But what I would say is stay away from this fight. I don't see a clear winner. Anybody that does, they're lying. They're probably full of shit. But
there's a lot of people on Mike Malott, I'll say.
Really, I never thought Mickey Gall was UFC caliber. I think he's more of a Bellator guy, or what's the other thing? Is it the PFL? Professional
yes.
Fighter? Yeah, I've always thought he's more of a PFL or Bellator guy. And yeah, he's cut his teeth in the UFC, but I haven't seen him get any better. I mean, he should have beat Alex Morono. He should be on a 2-fight win streak at the very least now, but he didn't. So, and Mike Malott has to prove himself. So I can't really go with him just yet. I'll take the pick as Mickey Gall, but I'd say, yeah, stay away from this. I think Mickey will maybe get the split decision here. But as far as him being in the UFC any longer, I don't know, man. I think he might get cut pretty soon, or maybe just not have his contract renewed or whatever. He's not exactly anybody I personally, have ever been excited to watch him fight. So anyway, I'll take Mickey. Not looking forward to this fight. It's a pretty, I can see why this is so down low on the card. I think it should have been the opening fight of the entire card.
Uriah Faber knows how to pull strings, so he got it in a pretty decent spot in the prelims because he trains at Team Alpha Male. But let's move on. We've got a bout. I believe it's going to take place at 135.
I guess they're going to.
I can see we have a bit of a delay, do we? But yeah, let's just move on. We've got a bout taking place at 135, Aspen Ladd versus Raquel Pennington. And currently the odds have it in favor of Raquel Pennington, slight favorite, -170. Comeback on Aspen Ladd is a +140. This one, short notice bout, it was supposed to be Aldana. Aldana was going to knock out Aspen Ladd relatively easily as long as she didn't get taken down. With Raquel Pennington taking this fight on short notice, I think Raquel's the better fighter. She's fought for the title, fought the way better competition. Aspen Ladd, I will say this, on Instagram, she looks like she has abs now, so perhaps the weight cutting issues are a thing of the past. We'll see. That's primarily my biggest issue with Aspen Ladd is her weight misses. She gets on the scale, she's shaking like she's dying. She gets dropped by a right hand from the Iron Lady, Jermaine Duranamy. The fight gets stopped because obviously Herb Dean saw that she was dying on the scale and doesn't want her to take any more punishment, and that she acts like a complete bitch about it. Not a fan of Aspen Ladd. I've always enjoyed watching her get beat. Her last fight with Norma Dumont at 145, a complete stinker. So much so that the what was it? The media was like kind of shedding on her coach / boyfriend for being mean to her. I just can't get behind Aspen Ladd train, really. I mean, clear path to victory, out grappling Raquel Pennington, but I think Pennington's just going to be too wise and too strong. He's going to box up Aspen Ladd. Aspen Ladd does carry a bit of power behind her punches, but her striking isn't all that great. I rate her striking a 4 out of 10. Pennington's more of a 6 out of 10 because she eats pussy, so she's stronger and it's harder. I'll go with Raquel Pennington to win this one by a decision. I think it'll be pretty close in the first 2 rounds, and Rocky will start finding her combinations in the third. She gets a 29-28 decision.
After the Mickey Gall fight, people are going to be looking forward to this fight. They're going to be like, they're going to try to hurry them up and try to get some action going. But yes, this is another. This is somewhat of a low-level women's fight, but the clear winner here has to be Pennington. She's the only loss she has is to Holly Holm in her last 5 fights, and Aspen Ladd is no Holly Holm. For some reason, whenever I think of Aspen Ladd, I always picture JoJo. What's her name? JoJo
Calderwood.
Joanne Calder. No, she's just Wood now, right? She dropped the Calder.
Yep.
Yeah, that was confusing. That's still confusing to me. But anyway, I picture them. In my mind, what happens is like the 2 pictures are like moving closer together until they merge into one person. And that one person they always confuse Aspen Ladd and JoJo with is like, it's like that Super Saiyan thing where they do that dance and then they touch fingers and they turn into one.
The fusion dance.
Super mediocre fighter. Yeah. They fuse into one super mediocre fighter that can never seem to get on the winning streak. Anyway, yeah, so Pennington's going to big sister her. She's going to get the decision. She's just it's going to be a relatively mild sparring match. And yeah, she's going to get her hand raised. So the money that you make, I would say, yeah, you're going to exponentially win. So the money that you make off of Oleinik, then Pichel, then bam, put into Raquel Pennington, you'll be pretty nice. You'll be doing pretty nice for the night.
Next bout at heavyweight, we've got Jairzinho Rozenstruik versus Marcin Tybura. And currently the odds have it in favor of Rozenstruik. Minus 135, come back on Tybura is a plus 110. Not much to say about this one. I really like the odds on Biggie Boy. Tybura, last fight was against Alexander Volkov. They both looked horrible in that fight. Biggie Boy, he looked pretty bad against Curtis Blades, but it's Curtis Blades. He's going to take you down. He's going to hold you there. So one thing I've noticed is that anytime Biggie Boy gets beat, he comes back with a fucking vengeance, right? He gets knocked out by Francis Ngannou, comes back, TKOs Junior Dos Santos, but he looked terrible until the knockout. Then he loses against Cyril Gane, comes back and absolutely destroys Augusto Sakai. Like he was, damn it. I was going to say something like, but I'd rather not. But yeah, he just beats him real fast. And then now that he lost to Curtis Blades, I expect him to finish Marcin Tybura much faster in round number 1. I think if you're going to go with Rozenstruik, the best option is by knockout. I don't think he's going to win any decisions, especially against Marcin Tybura. He hits too damn hard. Tybura's been knocked out before. I know he hasn't really been knocked out recently, but he's been beating decent competition. Maxime Grisham, he beat Ben Rothwell. He TKO'd Greg Hardy, but that's an iffy thing because Greg Hardy was looking like a world beater against him. TKO's Walt Harris, and then he runs into Alexander Volkov. I don't think it's going to go past round number 1. So if you want to go round number 1, that's fine. I would say Rozenstruik by TKO should get you some decent dog plus money. That'll be my play. Jairzinho Rozenstruik, round number 1 knockout. Tybura's only real path to victory is by really smothering Rozenstruik. He's not going to want to strike with Rozenstruik. I think Rozenstruik's takedown defense has gotten much better. I think he's going to come out like a bat out of hell and TKO Marcin Tybura relatively quickly.
Yeah, one thing I just noticed is that apparently Rozenstruik is training at ATT. That's man, if they can get, a really in shape, Rozenstruik, man, if he can throw those punches on the regular, for 3 rounds, yeah, Tybura has no chance. I'd say that's his only thing, the takedown defense and then better cardio for Rozenstruik. That's Tybura's only chance, to get him to the ground, keep him there for at least 2 of the rounds, and then by the 3rd round he's going to be too tired they're both going to be too tired to really do anything. But yeah, Rozenstruik, I'm pretty sure he's going to be pissed and wanting to knock out Tybura, and then maybe they'll match up Rozenstruik with what's his name, the guy who does the shoey. Tai Tuivasa.
No, as much as I hate to say it, Tai Tuivasa's already outranked him by a lot. I think he's ranked number 2 now. For Biggie Boy,
Tai Tuivasa, really?
Yeah, I think so. I could be wrong, but who could Tai Tuivasa Biggie Boy fight? I think Biggie Boy could probably fight. I don't know what ranking Spivak is at, but that'd be interesting. That'd be a really good test or not Tuivasa. What did I say? Biggie Boy should probably fight Spivak.
Tai Tuivasa is number 6, man.
He's number 6 because he beat Black Beast, and Black Beast was like number 2, wasn't he? Number 1 or number 2 or number 3?
No, number 2 is Cyril.
Yep.
Number 3 is Stipe.
Number
4 is Curtis. Number 5 is Aspinall.
Oh.
Yeah, he's still in the rankings despite not fighting since when?
Since he got knocked out. Yeah.
Yeah, he got. So I think Stipe is probably going to fight either Cyril or Blades until he's like, no, I deserve another title fight because I haven't fought.
Blades would be cool.
That, yeah, I guess. But I'd like to see, Yeah, I think yeah, for sure. If Biggie Boy wins, I'd like to see him against Ty or Biggie Boy. I don't think he's fought Volkov yet. But I'd like to see Gain and Tom Aspinall. I think that would be a good fight too.
That would be.
Because Francis, I don't know, man. I don't think he's coming back. I don't think they're going to want to pay him. So, but anyway, where was I? Yeah, so I think I'll go with Rozenstruik. If they do for Rozenstruik what they did for Robbie Lawler's comeback, after he was in Bellator for a while or Strikeforce or whatever, yeah, better watch out. So yeah, I'll go with Rozenstruik. I'd say I'm not very good with the what do you call those things? The
props,
the prop bets.
Mm-hmm.
But I'd say this is close enough to where you can get it to plus money with the prop bet for a knockout for him. I'd say go for it. If you think he's going to win, then he's most likely going to win by knockout. So I'd say sprinkle a little bit on the knockout prop for Rozenstruik.
Next fight taking place at welterweight, we've got Ian Garry versus Darian Weeks. And currently the odds, this is the first time I'm looking at them. Holy shit. Like, I knew they were going to be bad, but I didn't think they were going to be this bad. Minus 350 for Ian Garry. Comeback on Darian Weeks is a plus 260. Damn. Ain't that some shit? So I have my notes here about Ian Garry and Darian Weeks. So for Darian Weeks, he's a wrestler with knockout power. The dude came off the couch essentially, still in shape, but obviously not in great fighting shape, and he fought Barberena. Went to a decision. Barberena eventually found his groove, kind of taught him a vet lesson, lost his O. The guy in this particular matchup, he has 0 to lose. He can go out there, balls to the wall, and knock out the hype train that is Ian Garry. So that's something to keep in mind. I think he's a live dog right off the bat, knowing those odds. He's a tough guy. There's a lot to like about Darian Weeks. Definitely very young in the game. How old is this guy? 27, I want to say. He's 28 years old. Very, very young. I don't want to say he's inexperienced, but he's not a noob, right? You can tell the inexperience when he fought Barberena. Like he did not have certain concepts yet of like point fighting. Barberena really pushed him back. He was just doing enough to win the fight. And Darian Weeks, I thought it was a very close fight. He could have done a bit more to edge out the fight. He could have won that fight on very short notice against Barberena. The thing about him, though, is that he's still damn tough, and he's still able to win this fight because Ian Garry himself, despite being 8-0, being a former Cage Warriors champion, fighting at a Sanford MMA, he also is very inexperienced. But the thing about Ian Garry is that he does show a lot of potential. The guy has a lot of talent. The guy is very well-rounded for the fact that he's still very young. He's 24 years old, training at a Sanford, and there was talks in the past about his team essentially ditching him back in Ireland when he fought for the Cage Warriors title. He eventually moved out to the States, and one thing I just remembered is that he is definitely not afraid to look bad. He's posting pictures of himself getting smothered by Gilbert Burns, so he's getting the absolute best training he can, I guess to an extent, depending on who wants to train with him. Obviously, if Gilbert Burns is helping him out here in this fight against Darian Weeks, that price tag of $350, it kind of makes sense because he's got a lot of good things going for him. He's very clean with the striking, very good counter striker, good cardio. He's been 5 rounds before. As I mentioned, former Cage Warriors champion. He knocked out, Jordan Williams, with a beautiful counter. Despite the fact that he was looking like absolute dog shite in that fight, Jordan Williams was being the much faster, cleaner striker. He did eventually, he kept his composure, and he ended up getting that knockout in the first round. It was a lot of really bad decisions he was making in that round against Jordan Williams, but he eventually got the knockout. He mixes it up well. He can take you down. He can strike from the top. He's got pretty decent ground and pound, decent enough takedown defense, decent takedowns of his own. I like a lot of what this guy does. Like, as I mentioned, he does mix it up well, and his counter striking is excellent. He's training out of a very good gym. So that price tag of 350, it makes sense because even if you think he's just a striker, he's not just a striker. Like, I sound like I'm what would I call it? Knob polishing the dude, but I'm really not. I'm just giving him his props. I think he's very talented. I think Darian Weeks is also very talented. I think he's a very live dog, but I really do think that Ian Gary's going to not knock him out. I think he's going to decision Darian Weeks. He's going to put on a very impressive performance showing how well-rounded the guy is and how his time at Sanford MMA is very much so developing him into a very solid, dare I say, future prospect. He's a very good prospect, but I think I don't want to call him a prospect. I'm sorry, but he still needs to show a little bit more, and I think he's going to show it in this fight. That way he gets that title of prospect, and I don't want to say title talks because he's definitely not there yet, but there might be some buzz around him even more so after this fight. I like his composure. I like his takedown defense. Not an easy fight for him, though. I think if he messes up or he does something bad or he gets in there a little too cocky, Darian Weeks might put his lights out. Darian Weeks is a very good fighter. I just think that Ian Garry is going to be the better striker. The only way Ian Garry loses this fight is if he chooses to lose this fight, I think. Because if he makes a mistake or if he gets overconfident or too cocky, Darian Weeks is going to run right through him. So I might put a little bit of money on Weeks because I think he's a very live dog in this fight. They're both very young. It's just that I think I've seen a lot of really good things out of Garry. And again, training out of Sanford, go with Garry, but I would not touch him. Don't put him in any one of your fucking parlays, man. I think he's very good, but do not at that price tag put him on any parlays. But I'll go with Garry by decision.
Yeah, this fight is, before putting this fight on any parlay or even betting on this fight, I'd probably suggest, betting on the Rodriguez Hansen fight before this one. This one's kind of high on the card for some reason. I guess they're expecting Ian Garry to be, to be as popular as Paddy. For some, I don't know. Maybe he will be. Maybe he won't.
The Irish are traveling people, my friend.
Yeah, probably.
I'll be in
I
Jacksonville.
don't really have much to say and or add to this fight. I'll go along with Garry for now, but I think he's got to prove himself and he's got to earn that minus 350 tag. That alone tells me, that tells me a couple things. It tells me that the bet, the what is it, the betting houses or whatever, I think that he's going to demolish Darian Weeks. I don't know if that'll be the case because if Darian Weeks can out wrestle him, he's going to have a hard time with Darian Weeks. Even if Darian Weeks does nothing but wrestle him, it's going to look pretty bad for Ian Garry. So that alone doesn't make I don't see anything to justify the minus 350 price tag. Even if it stays in the minus 300s, that to me is a red flag to stay the hell away from it. Sure, he's training with what's his name, Mr. Burns, but that alone doesn't really, say very much. I'm not really high on him. I'm not really high on that guy anyway. And it's kind of like, let's say if some other dude from AKA, came in and he's like, yeah, I was Cain Velasquez and DC's punching bag for so many years. You're like, oh, this guy's gonna be tough. And like, no, it turns out he sucks or something. Same thing here. Not that Ian Garry's gonna completely suck because he has some skill, yes, but he's still got a long way to go. He's still got to prove himself. Both he and Darian Weeks do. I can't completely count out Darius Weeks, so the plus 260 price tag makes him a worthwhile consideration.
Mm-hmm.
But this fight as a whole just screams stay away, for even semi-experienced bettors. Well, it should scream stay away. It shouldn't be like, yeah, this is what's going to make or break me. No, it's not. Well, it will break you if you think this is a good bet, because it's not. Whatever, whichever way you decide to go, if you do bet on this, it's a bad bet. I'd say stay away from it. But if I have to make a pick, I'll go with Ian Garry for now. He's got. They both have one fight in the UFC, and yeah, Weeks did lose to Barberena, but Garry did beat Jordan Williams. Not a great win, but at least he has a knockout, so he knows what it feels like to win. So I think he's going to come in with confidence, and Weeks is going to need to prove himself and earn that next UFC paycheck right after this one. I think they'll give him another chance, but
Yeah,
he's got to come in and show that he's got what it takes to stay in there. But this one has too many question marks, too many red flags. Just stay away from this one.
And before we begin the main card, little trivia game here. Can you guess this fighter based on the tattoos? And yeah, like, share, subscribe, leave a comment. Always really enjoy interacting with you guys in the comment section. Also follow the Discord. Nice little group there. But don't really have much to really add for this week. Don't really want to waste much time. We'll get started with the main card opener. We've got Mackenzie Dern versus Tecia Torres taking place at strawweight. Currently, the odds have it in favor of Tecia Torres, a tiny tornado, minus 125. Comeback on Mackenzie Dern is plus 105. Interesting little bout. Damn, it's women's MMA, man. I'm a big fan of women's MMA dog money. I like Mackenzie Dern in this one. I don't really have much to add. Tecia Torres, I respect the shit out of Tecia Torres. She's very good. I've seen her fight live. I saw her fight, I think, in her second or third professional bout in Kansas City. And I think she fought Rose Namajunas. And I'm like, holy shit, she beat Rose Namajunas back in the day. So I've known about Tecia Torres for a long time. I've got a soft spot for her. I mean, she's a tiny tornado, but as much as I respect her, I don't think she wins this fight. I think there's too many opportunities for Mackenzie Dern to take advantage of what she can do. And here's the thing. I've said it multiple times. Tecia Torres has lost to very good competition. She's lost to title challengers, title champions, I should say, multiple champions nonetheless. Actually, let's list off her losses, because she's lost to either title challengers, future title contenders, or champions themselves. So lost to Rose Namajunas, current champion. I guess at the time was a up-and-comer. So former and current champion Jessica Andrade, former champion Joanna Jędrzejczyk, former champion Weili Zhang, former champion, and Marina Rodriguez, soon-to-be title challenger, God willing. And now she's fighting Mackenzie Dern, a girl who nearly beat Rodriguez in her fight with her. With that particular fight, that's one of the only fights I really went back and rewatched, because that was the best fighter Mackenzie Dern had fought. She looked good in certain spots, but she looked like absolute dog shit striking, and she could not get a proper takedown. That has been my biggest concern with Mackenzie Dern, is that her striking, although it's improving and needs a little bit more polishing, she will be completely outgunned by the much better Taekwondo specialist in Tecia Torres. Ticia's going to be very strong, very fast. I mean, if this was Tecia Torres versus Mackenzie Dern, but like maybe half of the talent, I would go with Tecia Torres every day. But Mackenzie Dern, as much as I want to fade her because of obvious reasons, right? Like, she did piss me off because she lost me money against Marina Rodriguez in a fight where she could have really destroyed Rodriguez. She had her in top position, mount position. She just couldn't finish her. And then, Rodriguez just kept her at length bay and outstruck her. As much as that pissed me off, the girl's an absolute savage on the ground. Like, I went back today and rewatched some of her actual grappling tape, and she is an absolute monster on the ground. And I think if she gets any type of position on Tecia Torres, whether it be she pulls guard, she catches one of her kicks and takes her down, or she completely bum rushes Tecia Torres and gets her down, or just takes any sort of prominent position on Tisha Torres, I think it might be done for Tisha. I mean, I think definitely Tisha can avoid the submissions, but I don't think she can avoid the first, the second, third, fourth, fifth, the complete chain of submissions that Mackenzie Dern's going to throw at her. And I think Mackenzie's going to have the more power. Tisha Torres is a much better striker, way better cardio, very, very strong built woman. But I think there will be a mistake made by Tisha, and not even a grave mistake. Like, she will throw a kick and then Mackenzie's going to grab it and take her down, and it's going to be a wrap. I can even see this fight being completely dominated by Tisha by staying on the outside, using a ton of movement, and just avoiding the takedowns and even the striking of Mackenzie Dern, because she does tend to bum rush and try to bully her way in. And the girl can crack too. She has a lot of power. Her striking might not be great. Her chin's pretty good too. Mackenzie's, that is. But I think eventually, whether it be round number 1 or the last few 30 seconds, I would say, of round number 3, if Mackenzie Dern gets a hold of any appendage, it might be done for Tisha Torres. I like Dern at dog money. I think I actually picked her at dog money. I can't remember specifically if it was dog money against Nina Nunes, but she got the job done there. Very similar matchup with a stand-up striker, whatnot. So I'll go with Mackenzie Dern being an absolute savage on the ground to eventually get a submission on Tisha Torres. So I would say maybe round number 2 to be safe. Submission, Mackenzie Dern.
I'm actually going with Torres on this one, and I think she will live up to her nickname. She will be a tiny tornado. She is better than Dern on the feet. Once they get to the ground, yeah, she has a chance, but Dern has shown her, what's the best word to describe this? Just how immature she still, or is it how immature? Just how amateurish she still is in MMA. If this was just a straight up jiu-jitsu match, yeah, of course I'd go with Dern. But it's not. Tisha is the better fighter overall, and I think she's going to show it here. This is going to go to decision. Tisha's going to get it. I don't think Dern is going to be able to submit her. Dern, I think, should have been demoted back to brown belt. And that way her belt would have matched her pants when she shit the bed against Marina Rodriguez. She should have won that fight. I had her winning that fight. As much as I like Marina, I thought Dern definitely, her jiu-jitsu gave her, a solid advantage over Marina on her feet. But she couldn't get the job done. She lost. And I think she's going to underestimate Tisha for sure. And I just don't see Dern with that killer instinct. She doesn't have that same killer instinct that Rose has, that Wei Li has, even Carlos Esparza, I guess, has to a certain extent. Yeah, like the top 5, everybody above her in the rankings has that killer instinct, but Dern doesn't. I don't know what it is with her, but she just does not have that killer instinct. And so I think she'll probably stay in the top 10, for a long time, but or for as long as she is, in the UFC, but she doesn't have that killer instinct. So I think this is as far as she gets in the rankings at number 7. I don't think she'll, she might go to 6 or 5, but possibly someday. That's if, the rest of the girls retire or drop out, or if everybody 1 through 6 is on a bus and that bus goes over a cliff or something. And then they're like, well, I guess Mackenzie's number 1 now. That's the only way I see her winning a title in the UFC ever. Yeah, so I'm going with Tisha. I think she's going to get the decision here and continue her resurgence since 2020.
Moving on at welterweight, we've got a highly anticipated bout, so much so that everyone on fucking Twitter is trolling me by saying that this fight's been canceled and that Chimaev pulled out and blah, 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 April Fools, whatnot. Gilbert Burns versus Khamzat Chimaev. I think we all know the odds, but I'll reiterate. Heavy favorite Chimaev is a minus 600 comeback on Gilbert Burns. He's roughly around a plus 450, plus 425, around that area. So don't really know what to say about this one. I know, here's the thing, Gilbert Burns, he's a gamer. He is taking this fight because he believes he can win. And I think he's very skilled. He hits hard as fuck. He has excellent BJJ. Getting better as a wrestler, pretty good wrestler. Took down the untakedownable what's his name? Wonder Boy Stephen Thompson. Decision the shit out of Tyrone Woodley. Knocked out Damian Maia. I do this because he wasn't fully out, but I had money on him, so I'll accept the fact that Gilbert Burns made me money as an underdog. Obviously, he got knocked out by Kamaru Usman by a power jab. Very embarrassing, in my opinion. I actually had money on Burns. I thought he could win by knocking out Usman. I didn't think Usman was going to want to take it to the ground. Little did I know that Gilbert Burns has an absolute awful chin and does not know how to defend a simple jab. I mean, shit, whatever. Chimaev, on the other hand, I wrote it down very plain and simple. No known weakness. He has the aura of a young Vitor Belfort. The dude hits hard. He has very, very good wrestling, as we know. He's fighting at welterweight. I know he's had issues kind of making weight, especially with Jing Liang when he was away for a bit. Came back, had a bit of a scare there with the scale. Pardon me. Ooh, had to yawn there. Sorry. We don't know how good his chin is, obviously. What is he hiding behind that beard? That's my biggest concern about this one. I always do wonder when you're betting on a guy like Chimaev, who has looked incredible. He hasn't been hit cleanly in the UFC, that if he gets hit once by Gilbert Burns, will his chin implode? And we find out he is just one of the worst glass cannon hype jobs that we've ever seen, that if you land a good strike on him, he's going to crumble. The thing about him is that we don't know that. To our knowledge, it doesn't exist. But the guy's very powerful. He's very good with the subs. I think he can actually sub Gilbert Burns given enough time. But I think he's actually going to knock out Gilbert Burns. I think he's going to hit him clean once, and he's going to drop him and finish him off with ground and pound. I don't think he's going to try to wrestle with him, because why would he? He can just strike with him and knock him out. I do think Gilbert's going to make it, and when I say close, I'm going to say he can make it close. I mean, he's going to actually land some strikes on Chimaev. I don't think Chimaev is going to come out here completely unfazed. I think he'll eat a couple strikes, but he'll eventually catch Gilbert and knock him out. I'm going to say round number 1. For now, there's nothing more I can say. I don't see anything Gilbert Burns can really do other than try to grapple with Chimaev, and I don't think he's going to have the strength, being that he's a former lightweight fighting a basically light heavyweight. If you really think about it, he wrestled Hermanson and dominated the damn man. So yeah, I'll go with Chimaev to win this one by a first round knockout. We'll see what happens, though, man. I would absolutely love to see Gilbert Burns go out there and knock out Chimaev, because it'd be really fucking funny. And I know there'd be a lot of people who put a ton of money on Chimaev to win like $5,000 to win like $100 or whatever. But I'll go with Chimaev. I think he gets it done. I would say round number 1 or by knockout prop.
Well, yeah, I'm also going with Chimaev here, but that's just because I flipped the coin. I don't like either of these guys. Chimaev, and I'll tell you what his weak spot is his neck. Hasn't shown it yet, but that's what I see as his weak point. I don't know about his chin. He's still, he's yet to, go toe to toe with anybody. Strikers, he'll wrestle them, and then wrestlers, he'll strike with them or grapple with them or whatever. So he's smart in that in that aspect. But Gilbert can do both. As you mentioned, I don't think he'll come out with, come out completely unscathed. But we've yet to see it. But I think at least what I see is his neck is going to be his issue in the long run in his career. We'll see about his chin and maybe his knees, like his legs. Those are the two things. Well, I guess three things technically: both his legs, his knees, and his neck, as being issues for him long term. As far as here, I think he will. That's exactly how I see the fight going. I think he's gonna slap Gilbert Burns around a little bit. He's gonna get on the ground and then ground and pound him and get that TKO. I don't think he's gonna play with him just because he knows Burns. I think he's gonna take Burns very seriously because this taking out the number 3 guy. I don't know if that'll put him in number 3 in the number 3 position, but that'll certainly elevate him and get him up there and get him. Excuse me. Dry throat. That'll get him definitely closer to a title fight. So after beating Burns, I don't know. He'll probably. Hang on. Sorry, I have to go get some water. Give me a quick minute.
Yeah. That Jose really did bring up a good point because we don't know too much about Chimaev. Like I did bring up that whole thing about Vitor being like the no known weakness, but once we find out what his weakness is, because just like a lot of these fighters, we've got obviously Vitor Belfort, no known weakness, obviously in that era. Machida, where no one really knew how to approach him. The thing about Chimaev is that he's so damn dominant, is that you don't know what to make of it. Like, are you really going to jump on the train? I think part of me is halfway in. I think the guy is legit. I think he's shown excellent skills, but he's he's 10-0 so far, and he's fighting what one would consider the best fighter he's ever fought, period. And the issue with that is that he's getting Burns quite up there in age. He's 35 years old, and he's taking a lot of damage. So we'll see. It's interesting, but yeah, continue with your points, Jose.
Yeah. So the way I see Chimaev is the way that we see that I see that. Who was that guy from Glendale Fight Club who was like so hyped and then he came up against Blonde Brunson?
Oh,
you know what I'm talking about, right?
Yeah, it was Edmund Shabazi.
It's like, oh, hey, this guy's a prodigy, and then boom, he faces a wrestler, and it's like, oh, he has no wrestling. So yeah, no shit. He's coming from Glendale Fight Club where they don't do anything but hit pads, and then they expect you to, beat everybody, which they don't. So that's how he kind of sees Chimaev. Yes, he is a good wrestler, but he's yet to fight, somebody else who's a good wrestler who can also strike. So he's going to work his way up the ladder. And I think he's going to eventually come up against Luque. And as far as good wrestlers, eventually I guess Usman and Covington maybe down the line. But he's still got several guys to go through. I'm not sure why they gave him Burns. I think they should have given him like Sean Brady, Wonder Boy, or even Muhammad. Luque would have been interesting. I think that would have been. I'm actually higher on Luque than I am on Burns, despite the rankings are deceiving. I think Luque is a better fighter. So I think I'm not really looking forward to this fight, to be honest. But I would look forward to it if Luque was fighting, because that I think is a real challenge.
Got to be patient. Then we'll talk about Luque.
Yeah, so I think that would be a great fight. And the reason I'm not high on Burns is because if you look at his record, he's the guys that he's beat, not all that. I think his record's a little bit padded. Yes, he did beat Wonder Boy, but he beat a Wonder Boy that's like 6-7+ years, past his prime. And he didn't really beat him. He got a decision over him. I mean, come on. like he destroyed him. Give me a break. That'd be like, that's like, bringing Michael Bisping out of retirement and then, barely getting a decision over him and claiming you're the best in the world. Like, bro, come on. Yeah, so that's why I'm not really high on Burns. Burns, high on Burns, just like I'm not high on, they both padded their records a lot. So anyway, yeah, so I'll, until Chimaev beats somebody of note, which isn't Burns to me, I won't, jump on that train. But for this picking some, I will pick him just because he's slightly better than Burns. But they've got to fight, so he's got to prove it. It doesn't really matter, what I think. It's, what he shows, and at that point, it'd be what you've seen. So, this one I would also recommend. This fight, I should say, I would also recommend you stay away from, just because the odds are ridiculous in this one. You don't, if just in case something does happen and Burns does end up winning, it would just, it'll just screw you over pretty bad. So I'd say just stay away from it.
Our next bout taking place at bantamweight for the undisputed title of bantamweight champion of the UFC. We've got Aljamain Sterling versus interim champ Petr Yan, the rematch. As we all know, unpleasantness happened in the first fight, a fight that Petr Yan was on his way to winning. Say what you want. I know Aljamain Sterling made it close, but Petr Yan was on his way to winning. And, the illegal knee happened, and here we are. Petr Yan fought Corey Sandhagen and won the interim belt, which, as we all know, we're considering that the real belt, and we've got the rematch. Not really much to say about it. Petr Yan's going to win, but how is he going to win? Like, as much as I say that, and I'm confident that Yan is going to win, there is an absolute chance Aljamain Sterling could beat Petr Yan. And the way that is, it's not based on what Aljamain is going to do. It's more so on what Petr Yan isn't going to do. Because as much as I break down the tape on Petr Yan, and he's fucking phenomenal everywhere, he does have a bit of a issue with, I guess, letting people off the hook in the first few rounds. Like, it almost seems as if the guy likes to live bet himself. Like, he knows he's a huge favorite. For example, currently he is minus 450. Comeback on Aljamain Sterling is a plus 340. So he's aware that he's a minus, say, 500. And then he loses the first round, and then he loses the second round, and then his corner's like, we're at a plus 200, and he's like, okay, I will fight now. And then he starts beating the shit out of the guys. I'm like, dude, he does that consistently sometimes. And as the announcers put it, that he plays with his food, it does seem to me, and I'm not accusing him of doing this, but it almost seems as if he is live betting himself to get the best odds because he knows he's going to wreck these dudes. So with his fight with Aljamain in the first fight, he was losing, I would say, the first round and a half. Like, first round for sure he dropped. Aljamain was very fast. He was throwing a lot of volume. He did get one takedown, but his takedown defense completely outshined anything that Aljamain could do in that first fight. The thing about Petr Yan, as I mentioned, he does have a bit of an ego and a lot of overconfidence. So if you are thinking maybe that plus 3 something on Aljamain Sterling might come to fruition, that is something you might want to keep in the back of your mind. There's also, I gotta say, zero chance that Petr Yan's going to do anything stupid like in the first fight. The thing about Aljamain Sterling that puts him in this position of being a plus 300 and some favorite is that he, although has a fabulous ground game, as much as I feel like for saying fabulous, that is the best way I can describe it. He's very good on the ground. He's very strong. He's just such a naturally gifted athlete that when he mixes it up on the ground, he's got a lot of control, a lot of strength. That's his realm. He's a very good volume striker. I considered him a lot like a Neil Magny minus the cardio. he had a recent interview where he was talking about how his cardio failed him in the fight with Petr Yan. That's why he was looking like that. Like, yeah, man, I usually do that like for 5 rounds or whatnot. He's claiming, and then he's like, my cardio failed me. I don't know what it was. Maybe there's some truth to that he's stating, but I really don't see it that way. I don't think he has the ability to strike like that for 5 rounds, especially with a guy like Petr Yan. I mean, even Petr Yan was out wrestling him at one point. I mean, tripping him, dropping him down. The reason Aljamain is such a big underdog is because he's a bit of a Melvin, is the best way I can put it. He was flopping around, booty scooting and shit, and I'm like, dude, what are you doing? Like, he just did not look prepared after his cardio went away. He had nothing for Petr Yan. And again, he was on his way to losing that fight. He was getting completely, best way I can put it, he was getting cucked out there. Like, Petr Yan was holding him down. He had him in that position where he was knelt on the ground, and Petr Yan had his head down. And the first occasion, it did not lead to a knee. The second one, it did. But it was like, dude, those are some really bad optics out there. But as for Petr Yan, as I mentioned, he's a very good fighter. He's very fucking good. Like, so much so that if he is actually throwing away rounds to bet on himself, he is very confident in his skill set, because he should be. Excellent footwork, excellent defense. Takedown defense is fantastic. Boxing is elite, top level boxing in the UFC. Man, the guy, although he throws away the rounds, he does download some of the information, and he finds your weakness and he attacks it very well. The guy's going to have the more power, the cleaner shots. I mean, if he wants, the one thing I respect about Yan, but kind of bothers me, is that he can wrestle. He can definitely out-wrestle Aljamain Sterling, but he will not want to do that. He'd rather keep it on the feet and try to knock him out. I don't think this is going to lead to a knockout or a finish by either guy. I think Petr Yan's going to win this one by a decision. The thing about Aljamain Sterling is that if he does get dropped, I mean, he's only been knocked out once, and that was by Marlon Moraes by like the perfect knee. Completely folded him up. I think he's durable enough to withstand the strikes of Petr Yan. Petr Yan's going to have to completely go balls to the wall and try to get Aljamain Sterling out of there with a lot of volume. In that situation, I think Aljamain Sterling might drop to the ground and try to pull guard. So I just really think it's going to go over, and it's going to go to a decision. I think Petr Yan wins this decision, because Aljamain Sterling might win the first round again. Again, he throws a lot of volume, and I think he's going to make Petr Yan a bit uncomfortable again in the first round, and then second round and beyond, it's all Petr Yan. Petr Yan puts on a nasty pace on people, and if he takes him to the ground and beats his ass, there's a chance he can get a TKO, but I really doubt it. I think, again, Aljamain's going to be tough enough. But yeah, man, I like Petr Yan. There's been a lot of talk about this guy being the uncrowned champ. I think he is. I think he's going to get things in order. Aljamain has been talking about wanting to put on a legendary performance, and I don't doubt the guy. I think he is capable of doing so. As much as we talk shit about him being an absolute faker and a best actor award given to him because of that performance in that last fight, the guy's a good fighter. It's just that with those interviews that I've heard, I don't know what to make of him. He's almost trying to convince himself that he's going to win this fight instead of saying, I'm going to do this. He doesn't seem incredibly confident. He seems as if like, why are people attacking me for essentially taking the easy way out and winning the belt via disqualification? Like, in reality, he shouldn't be fully ashamed of that. It's just the way of how he handled it. He gets kneed. He's clearly not out. He gets back up and he falls back down. Before I forget, one thing that did bother me about Aljamain that I really wish he would have done, he really should have worked this gimmick of being injured by the knee. Meaning that, like, if he was going to play it up like he got hurt, he should have always been walking around with a neck brace on him, like being hurt, like pro wrestling's type of shit. Every interview, he should have had a fucking exaggerated neck brace, maybe even in a wheelchair. Like, I'm never going to fight Petr Yan again. He's a cheater. He doesn't deserve, just piss off the fans, just completely go with that. Like, anytime he would do like media events, he would walk on crutches with that neck brace. I would have thought that would have been fucking funny. I would have been a big fan of his had he done that, but he didn't. But yeah, I got Petr Yan by a decision. I think he's going to pretty accurately beat him up, but I'm going to give Aljamain Sterling some credit. I think he's going to make it to the final bell. So as much as I want to see a TKO, I think Petr Yan's going to win this one by decision.
I'm actually going with Aljamain. I'm kidding. I don't know anybody that would go with Sterling at this point. He's an embarrassment. I'm embarrassed. Like, if somebody's like, oh, do you know this guy Aljamain Sterling? I wouldn't be embarrassed to say, yes, I know who he is. And I would be embarrassed to say that I'm a fan of MMA and the UFC at that point. He's so far been an embarrassment. Yes, he's on a 5-fight win streak despite his, good acting skills in his last fight. Yan has shown nothing but, why he is still the actual champion. I don't consider him being the challenger at this point. I think he's just going to get, his what really is his title back. And, as far as what you mentioned before about him, like live betting on himself, I think what he's doing is he realizes that, in 5-round fights that he has 5 rounds. So he's taking his time, gauging his opponent, and maybe having them waste some energy, and then coming in at the right time. So I think he's just taking his time and, evaluating and gauging everything so that when he does, go in and, start his offense, that it's exactly what he needs to, beat the hell out of whoever he's facing. And I think this is going to be no different. I'm looking forward to the ass beating that the Funk Master is going to get. Yes, there's a chance he might win, but he's already mentally defeated himself by being as weak as he was to get that belt, as well as, what he said in interviews, he's calling it his belt, and, he's going to come in and defend it. And I'm like, bro, give me a break. So he's drank his own Kool-Aid. He's done. So he's never seeing that title again unless he buys those little mini titles, they sell at the UFC store for like $30 or whatever. I don't have much more to add. Peter's going to win. He's going to get his title back, and then he's going to fight. Who's he going to fight next? Let's see who's in the rankings. Wow. Aldo's number 2. That's crazy. I didn't see that.
Aldo, who has legendary takedown defense, huh?
Yeah. So he might get a rematch against Yan, I think. I think that would be pretty cool. I don't think... Actually, another fight I think would be pretty cool would be Aldo versus Dillashaw.
That'd be cool.
Pretty interesting.
There's talks about Aldo versus Dominic Cruz. So that'd be like, oh shit, WEC all over again. That'd be cool shit.
That would kind of like be current Undertaker versus the Legion of Doom. Current Legion of Doom. For those of you that don't know, Legion of Doom is dead. So yeah.
I mean, one of them's still alive.
That'd be very exciting. Really? I thought they were both dead.
Animal's still alive.
They both. No, he passed away, man.
Animal passed away?
Yeah.
I need to live check this because I thought what's his name was still alive. Road Warrior. Wow, we're just wasting time here. Road Warrior.
Yeah, man,
Road Warrior Animal. Could not. Oh shit, I guess you're right. They are dead. Correction.
Yeah. Yeah, man, that would be... I'm glad the internet backed me up on that one.
I thought he was still alive. I'm like, what the fuck? 'Cause I know Hawk died years ago, but Animal, I'm like, damn.
Yeah.
Where have I been? Well, let's move on and get rid of my embarrassment here. Main event, Alex Volkanovski versus Chan Sung Jung. What were you saying?
No, I'm saying, we're both taking Yan. And before you actually start yawning, let's move on because I know it's late where you are.
Yeah, it's like 3 a.m. But yeah, Volkanovski versus Chan Sung Jung, Korean Zombie, as the poster has it, as allegedly that's what he prefers. But for this one, I think I broke it down spoiler-wise for one of my last videos. I got Volkanovski to win this one, and I'm going to insert a clip here. It took me for fucking ever to get this goddamn clip, so I'm going to post it right here as to what I think about Alex Volkanovski.
Oh, mercy, he's the real deal.
Precisely that. After his fight with Brian Ortega, I'm like, holy shit, I think Volkanovski is like the legit real fucking deal, because I bet Brian Ortega to win that fight, because I thought, you know what, something about Ortega, I think he's going to snatch a neck or snatch a choke in there, which he absolutely did. He did exactly what I thought he was going to do, meaning that he was maybe going to take an ass whooping for a bit, and then he's eventually going to catch Alexander Volkanovski slipping and snatch up a neck, like a desperation choke, which he grabbed that guillotine. And I was right there basically like, oh yeah, I'm fucking right, exactly as I thought it was going to be. And Volkanovski gets out of it. And we saw it, everyone saw, we know what we're talking about here. Blew my fucking mind. I was like, holy shit, that was incredibly tight. Like, Volkanovski said it was tight. Everyone said it was tight. It was clearly tight. He turned purple and he gets out of that. Then he starts beating the shit out of Brian Ortega from the top. He's like, you son of a bitch, how dare you? And then Ortega gets him in a triangle. He gets out of the triangle. As we saw, it wasn't the tightest triangle, but it was still pretty good. But Volkanovski said something in the post-fight interview saying, like, yeah, it wasn't as tight as a guillotine, mainly because he's such a stocky dude that he was able to like position himself correctly. I'm like, damn, I think Volkanovski is the real fucking deal at featherweight. And I think he's just going to be the faster, quicker guy, the better movement, the better overall fighter than Chan Sung Jung. That's not to say Chan Sung Jung, the Korean Zombie, can't win this fight. Obviously, there's a puncher's chance. What's excellent about Chan Sung Jung is that he's an excellent boxer. He's got a black belt in jiu-jitsu, as we've seen, first twister in the UFC. And I don't think he is completely outmatched here. Obviously, he's training with Cejudo at Fight Ready. They are definitely going to come up with an excellent game plan for Volkanovski, but how good is that going to be when implementing it against a guy like Volkanovski? I think the guy is better than his team. I think he's the best fighter out of City Kickboxing officially after that performance against Brian Ortega. And each and every performance, he's really been in there. Other than the second fight with Max Holloway, I wasn't like, oh shit, it's a little too close for my taste. I think it was a clear win for him, but it was a little too close for me. I didn't even mention the odds. He's a minus 800 against Chan Sung Jung. I don't think it shouldn't be that high of a favorite, because I think Chan Sung Jung, he's, although very slow and flat-footed, he has excellent counters, man. If he catches Volkanovski, he has the power to put his lights out. I really do believe that. So at plus 550, there's a good chance, although minuscule, I think there's a good chance I could cash at TKO knockout. I don't know about submission by Chan Sung Jung. I think his best shot is to catch Volkanovski kind of sleeping a little bit. Like, Volkanovski can be a very good point fighter, and he tends to lull you to sleep. But if he goes on autopilot, which he was kind of doing with Brian Ortega, he can get caught, he could get dropped, and something could happen. I think that could happen here with Chan Sung Jung. But as I mentioned, he's very flat-footed. He is very lead leg heavy on, I believe it's the left foot, which would be easy pickings for Volkanovski to throw some beautiful and repetitive leg kicks. He does throw a lot of hooks as well, but when he does throw his hooks, he does intend to counter. So I do think that maybe Volkanovski can actually, or not Volkanovski, that Chan Sung Jung can get a very clean left hook counter or an overhand right counter on Volkanovski coming in, because he's going to have the slight reach disadvantage. Wow, I didn't realize how close these guys were in height. 5'7" for Chan Sung Jung and 5'6" for Volkanovski. It's a half of an inch reach disadvantage for Volkanovski, but I think he's going to be the much better conditioned fighter, the more intelligent fighter in there. Not to say that Chan Sung Jung isn't. I just think so. I think Volkanovski's just a way better point fighter than Chan Sung Jung is. Korean Zombie tends to kind of overswing sometimes and throw too much power. but damn, his jab is very good. I'm excited to watch this fight, despite the odds. I think Chan Sung Jung has a pretty decent chance, but I do think Volkanovski, he's going to be very wise in this fight. He's even mentioned, like, dude, the guy can put me to sleep. So I know he's going to come in here very capable and very, what's the word? Prepared for what Chan Sung Jung's going to throw at him. But yeah, we'll see what happens. I think it's going to be a much better fight than what the odds indicate, because right now Volkanovski's going to run through Chan Sung Jung and knock him out, which I think could happen based on how hard he hits and how good he is as a striker. But as I mentioned before, Volkanovski can kind of go into that autopilot point fighting mode, and that could potentially get him into trouble, just like I thought it would get him into trouble against Brian Ortega, which he got out of it, man. I'm still surprised. As I was rewatching that fight, I'm like, holy shit, Brian Ortega's gonna get him, and I'm expecting, like, a little piece of the back of your head is like, you're gonna rewrite history by watching this fight again, and he's gonna tap out. But it's just like, holy shit, how does he get out of it? So yeah, I respect the shit out of Volkanovski. He's a real deal. I'm gonna say TKO round number 3 just to be safe. But you know what? Fucking no, that's not what I believe. I think it's going to go to a decision. I think Volkanovski is going to do a pretty good job at point fighting. He might get a knockout later rounds if it's going to be a knockout round number 3, now round number 4. If Chan Sung Jung hurts Volkanovski and he survives it, I think in the later rounds, Volkanovski's going to get pissed off and he's going to want to finish. But predictably, I'm going to go with Volkanovski by decision.
As am I. I don't have much more to add. And yes, Chan Sung Jung has a puncher's chance. And I think his chance is going to have maybe 10 seconds in the opening round to win, like he did against Mark Hominick. After that, I think his chances go down to 0. Volkanovski is going to be better than him in all areas, on the feet, on the ground, everywhere in between, against the cage. Volkanovski is, he showed against Brian Ortega that he is just better everywhere. And he isn't, even if Chan Sung Jung does manage to snatch his neck, his arm, whatever, Volkanovski has shown, super toughness. And you are right, he is the best fighter out of city kickboxing. And he's going to show it one more time against Chan Sung Jung. Not exactly the fight I wanted to see, but it's going to get Volkanovski another paycheck. Good for him.
Pay-per-views.
Fans another, he's going to, it's going to give him another great fight. And so in his next fight, who was he supposed to fight anyway? Holloway, right? I think.
Yeah, for the third time.
But Holloway got hurt. Yeah, so we can look forward to that next time. And then he'll just kind of keep going down the list. You got some up and comers. You got Giga Chikadze making his way up. You got Thug Nasty Mitchell, and Arnold Allen to a certain extent. Yeah, so there's still several guys, that I think Volkanovski is going to defend against. So I'm going to look forward to that as well. But here, he's going to take, I'm pretty sure he's going to take the decision, but very possible he might knock him out.
I was going to say the Arnold Allen fight would actually do very well with like the marketing behind it. Like, you knocked out my teammate, now I got to get revenge and shit like that, especially with like the chance for another British champion in the UFC. That'd be kind of cool. The whole British versus Australian rivalry with the Ashes, I believe. Yeah, it is the Ashes. The whatever. That'd be interesting. Aussie people, let me know if I'm right about that. But yeah, that'd be interesting. I really would like to see some bits of like storytelling when it comes to like the rivalries and MMA. I know that's like
and then
pro wrestling shit, but like I get interested in it. I get like, oh wow, look at the history behind these two guys and what this means. You knocked out my teammate, now I need to beat your ass. Fun shit.
Yeah, there's also guys like Movsar Evloev and a few other guys on the come up.
Indeed. But let's move on to possible parlays. For this particular fight card, I'm not too sold on the parlays, mainly because there's a lot of guys out there that are too overpriced. Like, mainly the main card, specifically the two main fighters here, Volkanovski and Petr Yan. I would say maybe this might be a good prop betting situation. Like, for example, if you were to get Volkanovski, Yan, and let's just go with Hamzat, those three, you're looking at a minus 155. I don't like those odds for three guys that highly priced. I'm not a fan of them. So probably like Volkanovski by decision or Petr Yan by decision. I do like Petr Yan by decision. Let me see what the current odds are for that. Petr Yan to go the distance. So if you were to go for that fight, if it goes the distance currently, I'm seeing it around a minus 120, minus 118-ish. And let's see here, method. If we go with Aljamain Sterling, where's Petr Yan? Petr Yan by decision, plus 120. I like that. If you're worried that he's going to beat the shit out of Aljamain Sterling that badly, maybe go with by finish, but I like the decision prop. Same thing for Volkanovski. So I would just leave it at that. I don't have any props for this particular card, mainly because, again, every guy that I really like is kind of overpriced. I do like, though, Mike Malott, but looking at him through my local casino, he's already at a minus 220, so it's like, I'm not a big fan of these lines. But if you have any possible parlays that you think of, list them in the comments below. But that'll be us breaking down UFC 273 Volkanovski versus Korean Zombie, Johnny Jose, Tiger Bomb MMA. Like, share, subscribe, leave a comment, follow Discord, all that good stuff. Catch you next week. If there is a card next week, I can't fucking remember. It's too late for me. But normally I would say fuck Oldberg, but I'm going to say something different. Fuck Douglas County. Fuck them.